Boy Kills World is an action sci-fi dystopian movie. This one stars Bill Skarsgård as a young boy whose family is murdered by the Koys. They are a super powerful company and family that have an iron grip over the totalitarian city. It's unnamed, but they basically have a whole network of soldiers, heavily armored soldiers and mercenaries, I guess. And Boy grows up in the forest with the Shaman, who trains him to become a fighter, turn his body into a weapon, so that he may get revenge on the woman, Hilda Koy, who killed his family. So it's a very simple concept, very similar to Fallout. But when you watch the movie, it's more like Hunger Games mixed with The Running Man a little bit. So overall, lots of style. There's lots of interesting costumes and set design. However, the world building doesn't really go deep into anything really interesting. You know, it has a cool look. There's statues and stuff. It's very Hunger Games-like, but dystopian stuff's not really explored. Like, they don't showcase that you can't leave the city, that it's like walled off, or that it's like doesn't have a name for the city. Overall, it's pretty violent too. What you get in the trailer is the movie. Bill Skarsgård's really committed to the role, physical, and you got the voice actor by H. John Benjamin, I think his name is, the man who voices Archer, plays the narrator. And voiceover for Boy because he lost his tongue and his hearing. So the movie is pretty basic in terms of its action sequences. Boy is a very impetuous fighter. He's not that smart. He shows up and starts trying to sneak into the Koy's facility to attack people, meet some friends. And that's where the movie kind of falters a little bit. It has a lot of great talent on screen, but doesn't always let them work. Andrew Koji plays Basho. He's like a prisoner making guns for the Koys. He gets rescued by Boy, and later they meet a revolutionary named, I forget his name, but he's played by Michael Jai White. Those two are like really good martial artists, but they don't get to do any martial arts fighting in the movie. It's mostly messy gunplay. In fact, a good 75% of the movie's action sequences is just like gunplay, which is kind of disappointing because I wanted to see more hand-to-hand combat, more martial arts fight scenes. And the action sequences do get a little bit wearisome after a while because they do some shortcuts. For example, one of the fight scenes is a hallway full of bad guys, and they just cut to a nightmare sequence, and then they cut to them all on the ground. Budget reasons or just artistic reasons, not really sure. There's also another fight scene where it's not even a fight scene, it's more like just a hallway of bad guys with guns, and they manage to just somehow, the boy just manages to just walk in there and just sort of run at them and not get shot, and even though it's like just a giant bunker hallway, and it doesn't really make sense, but it's not a big deal. I think the movie itself is saved by a wonderful martial arts action sequence at the end, a finale of sorts, which is really great. And there's also a more tender part. Boy's dead sister, she's sort of like a ghost that haunts him, and she's supposed to be like a sort of part of his conscience, I guess, because she doesn't like the way he's becoming more violent. That added a sort of tender aspect to the violence. It didn't like negate the violence, but it added a little bit something more than just revenge movie, and I like that aspect. So the character development's there. There's plenty of interesting moments. I think the movie's saved by that last fight scene, though. That's definitely brings it all together. This is definitely an interesting sort of comic book looking style movie. Lots of like, and they needed more sub bosses or whatever, because, for example, there's a sequence where a boy is fighting a group of villains, and this one guy keeps getting up despite getting maimed, and he keeps taking this vape thing. So I thought maybe it was a futuristic sort of pain suppressant or something, and then he would have to end up fighting a whole bunch of guys on pain suppressants at the end, and you know, they gives them an edge over him because he's like a really good fighter. But it really doesn't do that. He's just a one-off joke character. Also, there's a Running Man like sequence where they have to fight serial mascots and killers on TV, and it's not a particularly amazing fight scene either. It's just a lot of the fight scenes just they're not really choreographed well as gunplay or realistic as well. I don't really care, but like, it just didn't feel right for most of the movie. It's the equivalent of like 10 guys with guns shooting at you. He just runs at them and then they're all dead. It just feels a little bit too fantastical, even though the cast is doing an insane job. All the villains are doing great too. They got Sharlto Copley, he's not in the movie very long. There's Michelle Dockery, and you got Famke Janssen, and the guy who plays Gideon. So pretty good cast, good set design. Most of the action's messy and amateurish, except for the last action sequence. But really good set design and character development. So Boy Kills World is a pretty mixed bag of a movie, but I give it a 7 out of 10.